You are now tuned in to Atlanta's hottest radio show.
Our stories from our studio to your ear. It's the Beyond Swanky podcast.
With your host, Kennedy Lucas. On Swanky 93.3 radio station. The Heat 94.6 radio station.
Yeah, I tell you, that's a little interesting. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Welcome back to another exciting podcast here today. We were just talking because we ran this intro and the computer just freezed up on us and it just stopped working. Don't know what that was about. I don't know if the computer updated itself or not, but we are back. So yeah, that's a little weird how that happened, T. But like nothing else, we're back here. Welcome back to another exciting episode of our podcast. This is, of course, the Beyond Swanky podcast. I'm your host, K.L.P. Kennedy Lucas. Happy Tuesday, Atlanta. Hopefully you guys are ready for another exciting podcast here today as much as I am. Simply because we've got a lot of things that we've got to talk about on this spectacular podcast. Now, if you guys don't know about this podcast is not like K.L.P. Aftermath. The Beyond Swanky podcast is a podcast to which we kind of go unfiltered a little bit, right? We go a little bit unfiltered when it comes to one of the things when it comes to podcasting. We don't do, the cameras, first of all. We don't do the cameras because it's after hours sometimes when we're recording this podcast. So the Beyond Swanky podcast is a podcast to where we go a little bit unfiltered, if you will. We like to be a little bit unfiltered when it comes down to some of our shows because it brings out an edginess of this podcast, and I'm excited. Now, before we get to that, we got Coco back into the studio. Hey, Coco. Yay. He is back into the studio. I'm excited because he has another exciting topic that we're going to talk about here on tonight's show for Tuesday, and I'm very, very excited for that. We've got T. He's here. Monica, she's here. Addison is always here. Addison's a huge support with us. We saw Beatrice Gamma today. If you guys missed it, she did today, but by the time you're seeing it, it would have been yesterday. But we did a Metroid Prime Remastered review. She did her full take on that for SNN. And, of course, at the end of this podcast, I'm going to do a formal review as well. So this podcast might be long, which is great because I love podcasting for you guys. Now, before we get to that, and Coco, I know you're eager to talk about your topics today. We've got a sponsor. Ladies and gentlemen, today's podcast, the Beyond Swanky podcast with your host, K.L.P. Kennedy Lucas, was brought to you by Yaya's Fresh and Organic Juices. Get this, guys. You guys can get 10% off orders over $10. Again, that's 10% off orders over $10. So if you want to go there and you buy organic juices, or you're going to spend over the $10 mark, then you can get 10% off. That is a Crunch Snellville perk. As you guys know, I'm a Crunch member. I love going to the gym. I actually went back to the gym on Sunday, believe it or not, guys. I did. It was hard because it was the first workout that I've done coming back from New York City. It's been a little hard. This workout was a little hard, But again, if you're looking for something juicy to drink, of course, it's Yaya's Fresh Organic Juices. You guys can follow her Instagram right now. That's it's Fan Doge. I probably butchered that, but I'm gonna spell her username is YFANDOJ. Again, that's YFANDOJ. Of course, that's Yaya's Fresh and Organic Juice. Of course, mobile juice bar, cold pressure juice. And she also has a website. Go up there. You guys can get your orders. Again, that's www.y, and I'm just spelling it so that way you guys don't misspell it. www.yfandoj.com. Again, get your first 10% off for orders over $10. Again, Coco, it's good to have you back, man. What is your topic today on this spectacular podcast?
Nobody wants to be your friend. Nobody wants to be with you romantically. Nobody wants to have sex with you. Your family, they don't like speaking to you. Nobody wants to confide in you. Nobody wants to talk to you. Nobody even wants to hang out with you. Nobody even wants to go to parties or to clubs with you. Nobody even wants to do them things.
So, you know what's funny? You said you were going to intro your segment like this, but I honestly thought you were talking like at me. I'm like, whoa. Uh, but that's how he sets up his his script, guys. So he's not talking to nobody in particular. That's how Coco lines up his segment. We're talking about listening skills is based off what we've had here on our notes. And we're going to expand more about what we're talking about, guys, for sure. Go ahead, Coco.
Do you listen? Do you? So I don't think you do. Listening is, in fact, in my opinion, a skill. It is a learnt skill. Listening. It's very crucial. You gotta listen. And not the selective listening bullshit. Please. Don't selectively listen. You have to listen. Your friend comes to you. Family member just passed away. They're like, yo, like, really need that listening ear, like, to go. And you're sitting there talking over them, like, instead of just listening. Sometimes people don't need that. Because that isn't listening. That means you're not hearing what they're saying. You know what I mean? Like, they just want that listening ear, bro. So listen.
So I actually, Coco, I had it to where when I was younger, I would have, because what you just said, having people vent to you about a scenario or problem that they're having. Back then, I didn't always listen, right? I would kind of over talked and talked about other things. But as I got older, I've learned to I've learned to listen a lot, right? Nowadays, a lot of people talk to me and vent to me, right? You can almost say that I have been this guy where I try to play the counselor, right? Not saying that I am a counselor, but like everybody needs that one friend that just plays counselor and just listens and listens and listens to people's ideas, their good plans, their horrible plans, their venting moment, something that horrible that happened to them at work. I used to be that guy back in the day where I didn't listen. So now I listen, right? And sometimes I feel like I'm listening too much, right? I listen to a lot of people when they get kind of personal, and that's another thing too. And it really comes to the point where if you are listening to, let's say, a sibling, right? I have four siblings. I have two brothers, two sisters. And with them, I listen 100%, right? I want to hear all the good they got going on. If they got something horrible that happened, I want to be that brother that listens and really cope and really understand what's going on. But I've always been in a scenario where I've had work colleagues tell me too much, right? If you tell me too much, you're talking too much about your personal business. Hey, I don't want to hear it, right? I don't want to hear it. It's personal. I don't really know you that well, but I also have that set of coworkers um, to where that they tell me some information that maybe they should have kept to their secret, but they trust me into it. So I don't know, T, what you think?
It is true, Kennedy, when it comes down to having too many people tell you your information about what you got going on to the side. But I feel because before coming and working for K.L.P Entertainment, I've had it to where maybe if somebody tells me something or they want to tell me something and I'm listening, um, I feel that it just kind of brings a more trustworthiness to it, right? We all have that certain someone or certain people that they're talking to you and you're listening and you're really in awe. They want to keep going back to you and telling you things because they know you're a good listener. They know that they can trust you with some of their things that they talked about. And for me, when someone tells me something and they say, hey, it's a secret, then yes, I make sure that I keep it between me and that person, because that's, to me, is what's going to make me a very good active listener, when I'm able to listen, cope, and really understand, and I'm keeping it a secret, and now they're trusting me with this trusted information because I have become that great listener.
So listen. Again, put myself in this situation. I'll put myself in it. I'm an active listener. So meaning while you're speaking to me, I will give you reassurance that I am listening by, saying, yeah, okay, oh, I see, oh, wow, yeah, like adding little like tidbits so that that I'm still there actively listening to what you're saying. But something that I used to do when I was but a lad is sit there and really try and dissect and create a solution to something on the spot while they're telling me about it.
Oh my God. So you do that. You used to do that too. I used to do that a lot too because I feel gosh, I feel like when I and I still kind of do that, and I do it with care, right? Because I feel like people know that if we're trying to come up with a solution to, let's say if somebody's venting to you about something or they got a situation and they're just telling me about it, I try to encourage and try to find solutions to whatever the situation is, because it I feel that it just helps understand that I'm listening, right? I'm trying to be a good listener so that way, number one, I'm gonna try to be a good person, but I can try to find solutions because they know, okay, yeah, this guy, Kennedy, he's listening because he's trying to come up with different scenarios. So I used to do that, Coco, but I kind of do that to this day still.
And the problem with that is not everybody needs that. See what I'm saying? Not everybody wants that. Maybe everyone needs that, but not everybody wants that. That's more logical. Not everybody wants it. Sometimes, and most of the time, actually, I would say, people just want to be heard. People want to be listened to. So listen to them. Don't sit here and argue. Sometimes people just want to start arguing. No, no, no. Listen first. Listen. Because sometimes if you sit there and listen, then a lot of questions that you may have can be answered. Now, again, asking questions is also okay. If you listen, you're like, you said this, I can you elaborate, Do that. That actually is a part of listening, which is why listening is a skill. By getting that reassurance, by getting that extra assurance that you actually understand what they are saying to you. Because listening is hearing and understanding together. Hearing is just hearing. You can hear words. What are you absorbing from that? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I feel you. I want to add on to it. I think it has, and not trying to get off topic, guys, but it kind of goes hand in hand. Let's say if you're in a relationship, right, where a lot of people want to talk to their significant others, and they're expecting their significant others to just listen, right? One thing I do, because I've been in relationships now. It's been a second since I've been in a relationship, but one of the things I enjoy doing, if my significant other, if she wants to sit me down just to talk, whether it's about her coworkers or her day or how she feels on things, you know, number one, I'm always going to listen, right? I'm going to shut up and listen. I want you to tell me, I want you to tell me everything that you need to tell me before I start asking questions, right? Because what you just mentioned, where if somebody and I'm just using relationships as an example, where if somebody is going in, right, and they're trying to tell you things, you keep asking questions, and she can't finish her stories or finish what she's trying to talk about, then it's get construed a little bit. Now people are kind of confused, and you're not, to your point, Coco, you're not absorbing the information that's been told to you because you're just hearing a lot of noise, but then you're asking questions because you're just hearing it. You're not listening and absorbing. I've been in relationships to where back then I was guilty of that, right? Where I started asking questions and she couldn't even finish her story, right? My siblings, some of my siblings, especially my little brother, shout out to him. Sometimes he do that where he, where I'm trying to explain, he started asking questions. I say, bro, let me finish the story, and then you can ask me a question because I'm trying to give you the full story, right? I also had work colleagues where I'm telling them something that's important. They start asking questions. Like, okay, hold on, wait. Let me finish. Then you can start asking questions. So I feel that we as human beings, we're just not we're quick to ask questions and not really get the full story. So relating back to my first example, when you get into that relationship, he or she, in my case, she will say, "Hey, I want to talk to you about something. I'm listening." But then it kind of got me in trouble because I remember one girl, she's like, are you even listening to me? I said, uh-huh. Yes, I am, honey. I just want you to finish so I can start asking questions because if I don't understand, I'm going to tell you I ain't going to understand, right? But it's never good to say I don't understand if she didn't even finish her story. So it's funny. It's a funny dynamic.
When you combine hearing with understanding, now it becomes listening. Listened. I listened to what they said. This is what they said to me. I'm listening. I'm actively listening to what you're saying, meaning you understand. Hearing someone is just hearing the words coming out of your mouth, no substance to it. Listening is hearing the words coming from their mouth and also absorbing it in a way to where you understand. See what I'm saying? See what I'm saying? Like that, and that's really, like, you know what I mean? Like that's really what it's about. You gotta listen. Sometimes people be telling you things, sitting there, life away, and you don't, and you're picking the things that you want to listen to, not listening to the whole thing that they're saying. People could be going through it. You're not. People could be trying to express great joy to you. You're not listening. Why aren't you listening? You gotta listen. As this is the reason why you don't got no friends. This is probably the reason, because you don't listen to them ever. You don't listen. This is why it's always got to be about you, you know what I mean? It's always got to relate about what you're doing. You always got to circle back to what you've been up to. It's always got to, it's just always got to circle back to you. And I'm really, I'm really struggling to see, why y'all think that, like, that's okay. Like, why you think that you don't have to listen? Why you think that you're somehow better than that? Like, you don't gotta do them things. A lot of people sit here and they're like, yo, like, I don't gotta do that.
Yeah, it is true. A lot of people they don't listen, right? I've had my fair share of colleagues and relationships and girlfriends and I've had people that just felt like they were too good, right? They felt like they were too good to listen. And for those old friends, old colleagues that felt like they didn't listen, obviously we're not friends anymore because I'm like that too, right? If I'm telling you something about my day or something I'm pissed off about or upset or happy about, my expectation as a friend, yeah, listen, right? And I do that, and what goes around comes around. You want to have that same thing in the receiving end. So if you're wanting somebody to listen, then you have to listen when it's their turn to talk about whatever they need to talk about, right? Because it's good, right? It's good to get things off your chest, right? It's a lot of things that get balled up in our spirit, and sometimes we don't, if you don't go to therapy, because that's what really therapy is about. But if you don't go to therapy, then you look to your significant other, you look to your siblings. Now, and I'm not using my siblings because every time I tell my siblings something, they listen. But for an example, if your siblings they're there to listen, right? But it's just one of those things where a lot of people don't listen, right? They're so conceited, right? They're so into their own thing where they don't want to hear what people are going through because it's all about them, right? And moving forward, and we still got a long way to go with this, and I'm sure a lot of people don't understand this, but um, it is true, and that's something that we here in our society we have to work on. But honestly, I don't think that would be something that is going to be worked on very soon, because there are a lot of people that are very the word is narcissistic a little, right? That's the term word for it. But then that's saying that it's all about them and what they got going on. They don't care about whatever anybody else got going on. So listening skills, active listening skills, it is a skill, right? And there's a lot of companies that are looking for people who know how to listen, right? A lot of companies do. So listening skills, comment below, guys. Let us know what you think on that certain topic. We're going to take a quick break because we got to switch up the mics. But when we come back, of course, we're going to talk about Riri and ASAP's latest British Vogue video. Stay tuned. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
You are now tuned in to Atlanta's hottest radio show.
Our stories from our studio to your ear. It's the Beyond Swanky podcast.
With your host, Kennedy Lucas. On Swanky 93.3 radio station. The Heat 94.6 radio station.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Beyond Swanky podcast. Hopefully you guys liked that little switcheroo we did. We got a little bit of Coco at the beginning of the show to give us a topic of conversation here today. Coco did really, really well. Thanks, Coco, as always, for your devotion to our show. You have been so far a key member of our show. I know he's been missing in action, because at the beginning of the year he had things going on. He has his own podcast show, so I can't. Hey, he's out here hustling. So. But welcome back, the Beyond Swanky podcast, everyone. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the beginning of this segment as much as we did. Active listening skills. That's one of the things that we all have to do it. Now, like I mentioned at the intro of our podcast here today, the Beyond Swanky podcast is a podcast that we get a little bit juicy, right? We get a little bit juicy. And I wanted to talk about this topic here on today's podcast because a lot of radio show hosts have been talking about Rihanna's and A$AP Rocky's British Vogue cover. Primarily, I listen to the Joe Budden podcast. As always, I'm going to shout out Joe Budden and crew. I'm always going to say I'm a huge fan of Joe Budden. I love his music, first of all. I like his independence. I also like his music with Slaughterhouse. I know that's a touchy subject for him because of what was going on with them. But I'm always going to be a huge fan of Slaughterhouse, and in particular Joe Budden and Joe Budden Network. They had an interesting topic for this, for their show about the British Vogue cover. And I thought it was only fitting that I talk about this cover as well. So guys, if you guys don't know, British Vogue, it's a market for Vogue, British edition, and there was a cover for that. Of course, you've got Rihanna is in the front of the magazine cover. It's called, the title is Rihanna Reborn, and A$AP Rocky is in the back holding the baby. Now, a lot of people on Twitter have been saying a lot of stuff about this cover. A lot of people don't like this cover. And then this comes the question about, is she the breadwinner? Is she the quote-unquote man of the house? Of course, the Joe Budden podcast, Ice and Ish and Joe and Melanie and Flip, Queen Flip and Parks, they did their take on this. And I wanted to give my take on our show, the Beyond Swanky podcast, because honestly, and I say this as a mid Gen Zer. I'm kind of like, see, we're kind of like on the borderline of Gen Z and millennial, right? I'm 26, born in 1996. This year, scarcely for me to say, I'll be turning 27. So we're kind of on the cuffs of Gen Z, but we're a little bit on that millennial kind of thing too, right? Born in 1996. So I gotta say, I'm a bit of a new school when it comes down to breadwinner and man of the house, and I'm just kind of new generation. I'm new tradition with it. I believe in a man supporting his family, right? I'm a sole believer in that. I wouldn't like it if a woman emasculates me, right? I wouldn't like that, right? Because it would make me feel kind of uncomfortable. But I am not a fan of the breadwinner, the man of the house, because I'm an avid person when it comes to having 50-50, right? Honestly, a lot of people got heated for this. A lot of people say that this is emasculating A$AP Rocky. A lot of people are saying A$AP Rocky's not a man because of this cover. Honestly, if you look at it from an editorial standpoint, this is what Joe Budden said. If you look at it at an editorial standpoint, let me read you the stats. Now, I'm not saying A$AP Rocky's a good rapper. Now, I like majority of his songs. I'm not going to say he's trash. He's amazing. But you guys got to look at it, again, from an editorial standpoint. She is worth $1 billion from her Fenty line, right? Her current song, Lift Me Up, hit with Marvel Studios. That's pretty big. And we just saw a performance of her at the Super Bowl. So if you're looking at it from an editorial standpoint, this makes the most sense, T. It does. Right? It's been a second since A$AP Rocky had a hit song. Not saying he's trash. That's not what I'm saying on the podcast. It's just been a minute. Because he's having 2 kids now. He is supporting his fiance, soon to be wife. So you have to look at it from a marketing and an editorial standpoint. A lot of people are not looking at it that way. It's business. They showed up and Vogue said, we want Rihanna in front. They have to, and they're paying A$AP and Rihanna for the cover. So whatever that they tell them to do, posing wise, they have to do it. Regardless. So I don't think that this is emasculating A$AP Rocky. I think Vogue say, we want Rihanna. That it is business, right? A$AP Rocky, I'm sure he doesn't care that much because he is still rich in his own right. You look at the stats, though. Rihanna's a billionaire. Now, the question does become, because of Rihanna making more money than A$AP Rocky, now she's the man of the house. She's the breadwinner. I disagree. I feel that, and I don't know Rihanna and A$AP Rocky's predicament because obviously I don't live with him. But I'm sure that she doesn't emasculate A$AP Rocky. I'm sure of it. Right? I'm just a firm believer in 50-50. This is where the problem goes, where emasculation comes, where let's say if I'm dating a woman, obviously, and let's just say that, let's say she happens to make more than me. Would I feel difference if my girl made more money than me? No. Honestly, I would be very, very proud that she's making a lot of money. Right? I would be proud. If she just says, hey, babe, look, it doesn't matter if I make more money. And I ain't going to say it like that. Because if she said it like that, then yeah, that's kind of, that's emasculating. But if the facts is she made more money than me, and I know that she makes more money than me, I wouldn't sense no form of jealousy. Here's where it's going to come down, though, T. And this is the problem with us Gen Zers, millennial, our society in today's society, this is the problem. So I see it being a problem when she comes out, yeah, my dude, he broke. I make more money than him. He's sorry. His sorry ass can't even pay me out for dinner. I can get my own dinner. If she embarrasses me, emasculation, if she embarrassed me out in public, out on social media, out in the outlets, that's when it becomes a problem. Right? That part I can see. That part I can see from a man's point of view. I can see why men would feel some sort of way. When she comes out, again, because social media is very powerful, right? Social media in public where she is emasculating me out in public, making me feel like a sorry, low down, dirty dog because she might make more money than me. That's the part I can see being the problem. And I think that's the problem where everybody's coming from, where people are feeling that type of way about this cover because they think that maybe she emasculates them out in public. I don't know. We don't live with Rihanna and A$AP and their babies. We don't know what's going on in their household. But I'm sure Rihanna's not doing that. Or so I've seen so far. I don't know. Right? So I just feel like we have to get into this era of it's okay if your woman makes more money than you, right? I think it's the cutest thing because I saw this video on Facebook and Twitter to where, let's say, if a girl treated a guy out, this is what some brilliant women do, amazing women do. Say, hey, I know you get paid. Let's say, for an example, I know you get paid tomorrow, but I wanted to take you out to eat today. Here, when we're done, I'm going to just slide you my card and you're going to pay for it. Use my card to pay for this food because we're out in public. I don't want them to say, hey, his woman's paying his meal. What a sorry, broke ass dude this guy is, you know? So I'm going to just slide you my card. It's going to have a name on it. I'm going to slide you my card. You sign for it, right? Because it seemed that you're taking me out. Women have done that. Now, a woman haven't done that to me because I work really hard. So every date that I've been on, okay, let me take that back to you, because I was about to say something that was a lie. I've been on dates that I thought was a date, but it wasn't really a date to her, and I ended up picking up her tab. Yes, when I'm out on a date, yes, I'm gonna pay for food, right? I've never been, and trust me, guys, I've been broke before. But as of late, I've been, when I've been going on dates, no, I got it. No worries. It's really nothing. Let me just pay for it. Right. Not saying I'm big balling over here, but like I've never had my girl pay for dinner. Right. But I have been on dates before where if it's just not a date, but it's just friend hangout. Yeah. You gonna pay for your food. Oh, because we ain't fucking. Right. This is a friendly outing. So when it's a free, and I'm that type of dude. I'm sorry for all my women out there because I'm probably gonna get roasted for this part. But if it's not a date and if I ain't coming home and I ain't getting no nookie, yeah, you can pay for it, right? Because I don't want no woman that's been gold digging, right? And some women, and I'm not saying all women, definitely not saying that, but some women will try to trick us guys because we're such idiots. We're so dumb. Women are smart. Some women, I gotta rephrase that. Some women would try to trick you into being a date. She gets real cute, but it turns out it's just a friendly outing just to get a free meal. That has happened. Now, not trying to be sexist on the podcast, but that has happened to me. So I've been more careful about that. But I've been on dates to where it could potentially lead to something. Of course, I'm going to pick up the tab. Now, the dates I've been on never really rolled into a relationship, a deep relationship. But the thought that counts that, hey, I ain't broke. I ain't no bum dude. I'm going to pay for dinner. If it's a friendly outing, yes, you paying for your own dinner, right? And that's something we've done where if it's a group of friends just going out to, yeah, everybody's picking up their own tab, right? Because we ain't fucking. Right? That's just one of the things we're not getting it in. Yes, you're going to pay for your own food. Right? I saw this thing on TikTok and we'll move on. I saw this thing on TikTok where this woman recorded this dude and he thought he was getting some. and if you guys know what I mean, hopefully I know, because YouTube got this monitor, and I cussed a lot already, but YouTube got this demonetization thing where I can't cuss too much. But this dude was trying to get some, and he found out he wasn't getting none, and of course he asked the waiter to bring 2 checks, and she recorded him and embarrassed him on social media. So I would say, and this is the last segment I'm gonna say, and I'm gonna move on because I want to talk about this game that came out. But guys, if you're taking somebody out, be sure if it's a date, it's a date, and if it's not a date, then you can go about your business that way. Never walk into always thinking that if you're taking a girl out, it's a date, right? Because it could just be a friendly outing. It could just be a girl or significant or a friend that just want to hang out with you without it being sexual, right? So that's my 2 cents on that. Make sure it's a date. If it's not a date, don't be upset. Again, guys, don't be upset. If it's not a date, don't be upset. Still go out, have a great time, enjoy yourselves. And if it's not a date, it's not a date. Move on. There's plenty of fish in the sea. There's a lot of women or men, if you swing that way for sure. There's a lot of people out there in the universe, right? That one you wanted probably just wasn't the one for you. But there's many more. So we just got to get into that role of, not everything we got to date and have sexual relations with. It's just, I don't know. It's just one of those things that men in our generation, we just want to date and just hit it and quit it. I don't know. Comment below. Let me know what y'all think about that. Of course, this is the Beyond Swanky podcast. I'm your host, K.L.P. Kennedy Lucas. And always, I like to give another shout out to Y'all's Fresh and Organic Juices, our official sponsor for today's podcast, the Beyond Swanky podcast. As always, guys, with them, you can get, if you're shopping over $10 worth of organic and fresh juices, you can get 10% off. That is a Crunch member perk as well. So if you go to Crunch, you get that. You get to advocate that as well. Now, shout out to Beatrice Gemma. She's a news anchor for K.L.P. Entertainment. She was in the office earlier today because we gave her full review of the Metroid Prime Remaster. And I wanted to give you guys a little backstory about this. Now, of course, IGN gave this game a 10T. I got to give it a 10 as well. Because I remember when I was 5 years old when this game came out for Nintendo GameCube. When I was 5, I did not know anything about first-person shooters, right? When I was 5, I couldn't play Call of Duty because I was too young. When I was 5, I was playing Sonic Riders. I was playing Mario Party, Mario Kart Double Dash. We did play wrestling, though. Those were the platformer cartoony games are the games that I played at 5 and 6, right? I couldn't play Call of Duty, Battlefield, Resident Evil. I couldn't play none of those games when I was 5 and 6 years old. So Metroid Prime came out for GameCube when I gotta say 5 and 6, and I didn't know how to play, right? And I remember my big brother Alex, shout out to him, he played it, but I can tell that first person shooters really wasn't his thing. It was the cartoony platformers or Madden in wrestling for him, right? He had it. It was a free demo. It was a free game for the GameCube when he got his. He really wasn't rocking with it. But oh my God, T. So I ended up buying the game, the remaster for Nintendo Switch yesterday. Oh my God. I missed out because that game is so freaking fun. I felt so good playing this game because it's not hard. It's not jump scare. It's Samus, right? It's Metroid from Nintendo. So it's not that scary, right? You're in Samus's suit. It's a first-person shooter. You're going through the planet. You're exploring, right? When I played it yesterday on Switch, the remastered version, in my mind, I said, my gosh, I missed out on this, right? Because at 5, I didn't know about this. But as I grew older, and obviously now I play Call of Duty and Battlefield and what's another shooter? Halo, right? I'm not as expert. I'm not an expert gamer, but I know what I'm doing, right? So when I played this game, like, damn, I remember when this game came out, and I didn't know how to play. And now that I've been a more an experienced gamer, I know exactly what to do. So this game is really really fun. I'm glad I picked it up. $40 is not bad for this type of game. A lot of reviews came out with it. A lot of people gave this game such a great review. The remaster version, they remastered it. The graphics, the frame rate, the shooting style. Because I remember people were saying it was difficult on the GameCube way back in the day. 22 years later, they made it easy for Switch. I'm glad I picked it up for Switch 2T because my Switch was in my living room just collecting dust because we just haven't had a good Switch game in a while. And if we had a good Switch game, it's like 60, 70 bucks, right? And I'm playing my PlayStation right now. I'm playing Hogwarts Legacy. So it's one of those games, it's one of those things where I can't buy every video game that I want now, right? And I podcast about that too. I have to be very careful about what I purchase now because games are just so expensive. It's such a premium price for gaming nowadays. So when I saw the great reviews from IGN and Metacritic and GameSpot and GamerRant, everybody gave this game such a good score, and I said, okay, maybe I should give this game a try. $40, I mean, that's not bad. You can't beat it. So I bought it, picked it up, I played it. I was like, oh my god, this game is actually fun, right? I missed out on this. So my whole scope of the game, guys, pick it up. It's good. It's really really good. IGN is a good source. They gave it a 10. Metacritic gave it a 9. I want to say a lot of game reviewer companies gave it a great score. I'm giving it a great score on behalf of K.L.P Entertainment because it's just so good. This first person shooter. Some people are saying it's the best first person shooter on Switch, and it might be, right? It's good. It's very good. I think I prefer first person shooters from Metroid than playing like the Metroid Dread, right? So I have Metroid 3D, Samus Returns for 3DS. I haven't played that in a while. I picked it up because it was on sale. And then when we went to New York, they had Metroid Dread, which Game of the Year nominee. It was there at the Nintendo store, and I remember playing the demo that they had at the Nintendo store in New York, and I'm playing it, and I kept dying. I was like, I don't think I'm feeling this. I don't think I'm feeling this type of Metroid. And I felt bad because I play games like this all the time, and I just wasn't feeling Metroid Dread. Not saying that game was horrible, because a lot of people loved that one, but I was just like, I don't like it, right? I guess I don't like the 2D, 3D side scroller type games. I guess I'm just not interested. So then when Metroid Prime Remastered came out, it was a first person shooter. I played first person shooter. I played that and I was like, okay, this is the Metroid I like. So it really gets me excited. I hope that we get to see Metroid Prime 4. I'm not even going to count Other M. I'm not going to count that one. But Metroid Prime 4, I think Metroid Prime 2 Echoes is out. Well, it's not out for Switch, but if they make a remastered of that one, which I think they will, right? Because they just got great reviews for the first one. So I think they're going to make Metroid Prime Echoes remastered for Switch as well. I mean, it's a no-brainer. Those are the type of Metroid games that I like. So it's good. Like I say, my end game here, it's good. Pick it up. It's pick up and play. $40, not bad, honestly. I'm glad they didn't say 60 T. Like if they would have said 60 for this, that would have been there like, okay, that's greedy because we played this 22 years ago. This 22-year-old game for 60, $70, nah, I'm good. But for $40, okay, I can see that. Probably going to be on sale soon for 30. Maybe like a summer sale or something. So that's going to wrap it up here on the podcast here today. Thank you, as always, staying tuned for us. Thank you, Coco, for your segment earlier in today's show. Please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe to the show, guys. Again, our viewership has been wonderful on our audio platforms. We're talking iHeartRadio, Audacity, Stitcher Podcasts, Apple Podcasts. Thank you guys so much. You guys have been great supporters for our podcast, and we're very happy about it. Now, if you're watching the video version on YouTube now, there's no cameras with this one, but if you're watching the video version for it, thank you. Hit the subscribe button. Our subscriber count went up. within the last couple of days. So I'm very stoked about that, and we're very, very thankful for everybody. So that's going to wrap it up. The Beyond Swanky podcast. I've been your host, K.L.P. Kennedy Lucas. As always, I like to say, stay safe, stay swanky, peace.
Studio to your ear. It's the Beyond Swanky podcast.
With your host, Kennedy Lucas. On Swanky 93.3 radio station. The Heat 94.6 radio station.